Chapter 6. This makes it doable. Most people don't like change. Other people crave it. It is the difference between people who are born and raised in the same town and never leave, and those who can't stand to stay in the same place for more than a couple of years. How does the word change make you feel, really? Whether you believe change is fun or hard, chances are changing your behavior is much different than moving to a new city. Most of us know very little about how to actually transform our eating habits and health. I blame diet culture. Whether we've been a yo-yo dieter for years or have just watched our friends and family get on and off that roller coaster, the only model for change we have is the all-or-nothing approach of fad dieting. There's a huge problem with this. Dieting tactics don't work for lifestyle change. By nature, they are only intended to get you through the next 6 weeks or however long the diet is supposed to last. In this chapter, you will learn how to let go of that misguided approach to behavior change. No more white-knuckling healthy changes. There is a better way. There's a more doable, enjoyable way. In this chapter, you will learn how to navigate the ups and downs, what a habit actually is, how to change old habits and create new ones, how to not burn out along the way, how to support the new habits you make, and how to know you're on the right track. Where did I get all this? Well, let me give you a little backstory here. I'm one of those people who, when I decide I'm going to change something, I just do. No more processed food? Done. Going to start running? Let's do it. Yoga? All right. I naturally knew how to make sustainable changes. The more I talked with others about it, though, the more I realized that this was not easy for most people. When I became interested in helping others to be successful in healthy lifestyle changes, I felt stuck. I knew how I made changes, but how could I help others do the same? I knew and respected the difference in personality types and personal histories and how that affected our ability and preferences for making changes. I knew what worked for me, but how would I know what would work for others? That's when I got my answer. Call it a tap on the shoulder, divine intervention, or whatever you like. But I believe I was led to exactly where I needed to go and what I needed to learn to get the skills and expertise to help others make changes. I was guided to one of the best health and wellness coaching schools in the country. I completed the primary and master levels of certification, then went on to study for the National Board exam for health and wellness coaching. For a year and a half, I studied the principles of behavior change and practiced powerful coaching skills like motivational interviewing and appreciative inquiry. Finally, I had a clear framework and science to understand and validate the way I had been making changes all along. The more I learned, the more I was convinced I had struck gold. If everyone else could come to understand the behavior change science and had the right support and guidance along the way, we could all be successful in turning our health around with lifestyle. I've been testing this theory for the last 3 years, and I am convinced everyone is capable of sustainable change. It has been amazing to see client after client reframe their approach to change, and with the support and guidance along the way, be able to progress in their journey. My ultimate goal for you is the same goal I have for each of my clients: to help you do the work to build the habits that will last. Only then is the effort worth it. Only then are you creating sustainable change. Habits are the key. In this chapter, I want to help you fill your toolbox with what you need to understand behavior change. Changing habits takes effort. Tools make it doable. The tools I'll give you here are the same tools my clients practice with every day. Once they really learn and apply these principles of behavior change, their journey becomes so much easier. I know they will help you too. Sustainable change. For a healthy lifestyle to work, it has to be sustainable. If I had a nickel for every time I used that word, I would have a lot of nickels. So what do I mean by sustainable? No, I'm not talking about sustainability in the environmentalist sense. I mean sustainable as in capable of being sustained. So we're talking about behavior that's continual, viable, feasible, unceasing, livable, and supportable. Why is sustainability so important? Because lifestyle medicine only works its magic over time. Sleeping more, eating well, exercising enough, managing stress, and having a positive mindset can work miracles in your life, but only if you stick with it for a good long while. So what makes healthy change sustainable? In order to live healthfully for the long haul, you must find a way to enjoy the journey. Let's face it, humans don't keep doing what they don't enjoy. We're wired to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. These facts are things we need to work with, not ignore. Set your sights on a sustainable lifestyle change. Sustainable equals enjoyable, and enjoyable equals sustainable. Commit now to make this work for you in a way you would enjoy for the rest of your life. No more suffering, deprivation, or misery. Now, this does not mean you are committing to be perfect. By choosing the lifestyle approach to reclaiming your health, you most certainly will experience lapses and setbacks. As you try to change old habits around sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and mindset, you will slip up. You will go back to old habits. Hear me now. That is totally okay. Remember the stages of change from the last chapter? Do you remember the part about setbacks? We learn from each relapse. Failure is just a bump in the road if you keep moving forward. So that's all you have to do. Commit to learning from each setback and continue moving forward. Perfection is not required. When you mess up and slide back into old habits, you may be tempted to think, oh great, now I'm back to square one. The truth is that you're not. There's no such thing as square one. I'll tell you why. Because each time you come back to try again, you are wiser. You know what worked and what didn't. In fact, every time you fail in some ways, you're more likely to be successful the next time you try. As cliche as this may sound, the key is to learn from your mistakes. It will take patience and commitment to do this. With a little bit of guidance and a whole lot of grace, you can change your life and health. Let's dive in. Leveraging habits. The primary tool at your disposal in your quest for sustainable change is the power of habit. Habits may be your enemy right now, but you can make them your ally. There have been volumes written on what habits are, why they run our lives, and how we can change them. Deepening your understanding of habits is vital to your success. You'll learn all the essentials here in this chapter. Why is it so hard to do what we know we should do? Why is it so hard to kick a habit? One of the first things you must understand about habits is that habits operate from the subconscious part of our brain, the basal ganglia. This part of the brain is dominated by instinct. Habits are like computer programs that are encoded into our brains, often without us even realizing it. In fact, with every habit, there is more to it than just the thing you're doing, the behavior. There is also a trigger, something that initiates the habitual programming, followed by the behavior itself, resulting in some sort of payoff we crave. This is explained beautifully in The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Once we understand there is more to a habit than just the behavior, we can use these three parts to diagnose and redesign existing habits or use them to build completely new ones. Did you know that about 43% of your daily behavior is habitual? That's nearly half of everything you do, day in and day out. Eating, Sleeping, talking, working, parenting, driving, cleaning, and everything in between is largely driven by habits, not conscious decisions. Think about the last time you tied your shoes. Which laces did you tie first? Your right foot or your left? Chances are you'd have to actually start tying your shoes to find out, because it's not a conscious decision you make every day. It's a habit. Why do habits run most of the show? What is the biological purpose of having so much of our lives run subconsciously? Well, think about it. Our big brain has plenty to worry about already. Can you imagine if you had to take conscious thought for all the functions of your body? What if your heart only pumped and you only breathed in and out when you consciously thought about it? None of us would have lived this long, right? The idea is the same for the rest of our usual behaviors. Our brain is essentially always looking for ways to put daily tasks on autopilot. Remember, our brain is wired for survival. On this planet, survival means seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. A few things happen when you recognize just how much of your behavior is driven by habit. 1, you stop blaming yourself so much. 2, you look at it as a puzzle that requires trial and error to solve. 3, you can focus your energy on creating habits in such a way that healthy living becomes part of your subconscious programming. So, repeat after me. Habits are my friends. Habits hold the key to creating a sustainable lifestyle by putting healthy behaviors on autopilot. To take charge of your habits, you'll need to practice being more aware of the triggers, behaviors, and payoffs inherent in your daily routines. Then you can put strategies in place to interrupt old habits or create new ones. I have created a habit change journal printable for you to coach you through assessing and changing your habits. Access this and other bonus resources at danielledinkelman.com/toolkit. With the habit journal, you'll be able to take stock of your habits and routines, design experiments for change, and reflect on your progress. What do your habits look like? What are your triggers? What are you craving that keeps each habit alive? Keep your eyes open and you'll start to recognize more and more just how powerful habits are in your life. You can't change what you can't see. Start with becoming more aware of the habits that are running the show. Finding your flow. I know changing habits can seem like a lot of work. You're not wrong. So how can we do what it takes to change our habits without burning out? The best burnout protection tool I have to share with you is the Flow Finder. Most people think getting into flow is just for working on a project, but it can also be beautifully and effectively applied to habit change. Flow theory states that there is a balance point between the skill and the difficulty of an endeavor. When you continually stay in the zone, you move onward and upward as your skill and the difficulty increases. To do this, you must avoid boredom on the one side and panic or overwhelm on the other. By balancing your skill with the challenge you're taking on, you can avoid falling into either one. Put simply, if you want to stay engaged in your goals without being overwhelmed by them, find your flow. I can always tell when a client is struggling to find their flow. Goal setting stresses them out. If you hate setting goals, it's a sign that you're doing it wrong. Diet culture strikes again if we are still thinking we need to set huge, go big or go home sort of goals. No. Every time I go through a blueprint session with a new client, I know we've set the perfect focus areas and 90-day goals for them if the goals feel both exciting and doable. Doable plus excited equals flow. As you move through the process of creating your wellness blueprint and then putting your plan into action, you may feel your balance point or your flow state come and go. As things get harder and obstacles arise, you may feel like you are being stretched to your limit. I call this your edge. I recently met with a client who had tried the lifestyle approach on her own and failed. She told me she knew why it didn't work last time. It got too overwhelming. So we talked about respecting her edge this time around. I told her, this time, lean into your edge, but go no further. There's a sheer drop-off on the other side. We want to know where our edge is, but not push past it. The last thing you want is to try so hard that you burn out. The key is to set doable goals. When you think of goal setting, you may think of the popular SMART goals framework. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I find that most of my clients and almost all recovering yo-yo dieters have the hardest time with the achievable. They are so conditioned to force themselves into anything they are asked to do that they have lost touch with their own opinion on what is realistic for them in the long run. If that's you, you're not alone. It's okay to start with what feels doable. This is incredibly powerful for clients who feel like failures. Small wins with doable goals is what builds confidence. In behavior science, we call that confidence self-efficacy. Albert Bandura coined the term, which simply refers to the level of belief you have in your ability to face a challenge or complete a task. Your self-efficacy may be dangerously low right now because of past failures. That's okay. Work with that and set a goal you know you can successfully accomplish. Start small and simple. Look for the low-hanging fruit. If your self-efficacy is moderate or high, set goals that feel doable and exciting for where you are at. Either way, it's good to keep a pulse on your self-efficacy so you can set goals accordingly. Continue forward in this way, constantly using your own built-in flow finder, being mindful of your edge and intentional and realistic in your goal setting. Stay in your flow and you will succeed. Supporting your new habits. So you've committed yourself to sustainable change. You understand how habits work. You're mindful of your self-efficacy and focused on finding your flow. You are light years ahead of those trying to get healthy with lifestyle on their own. But there's one more tool you need to truly be successful. The fact of the matter is that healthy habits aren't created in a vacuum. We have to find a way to be in the world, but not of the world. As much as we would like to, we can't escape our day-to-day life to go to a healthy living monastery in the Himalayas and become health nut monks. Trying to live this way can make you ultra-focused on willpower alone. Well, there's more to it than just depending on your willpower. You have to support the changes you make. More than depending on your own grit, you need to enlist support from the people around you, and you need to design your environment to support you as well. When you ignore social support and creating a supportive environment, you may be setting yourself up for failure. That's working harder, not smarter. I know it's tempting to believe you need to just be strong enough to resist temptation and stay on the straight and narrow. Again, diet culture is to blame here. You may notice it's reflexive for you to blame yourself when you have a setback, but there may be more to it than that. Each time you have a relapse to old habits, you need to look at it like an experiment. Think objectively. When things don't work out, we can ask ourselves questions to check in if we are working smarter, not harder. Try asking questions like this. Personally, am I having fun? Do I have everything I need to be successful? Socially, how can I enlist more support? Who is holding me back? How could they encourage and allow me to be successful more easily? Environmentally, are my surroundings making it easier or harder to be successful? What could I redesign in my environment that would reduce friction and make healthy changes easier? Ideally, you want all three areas of support working in your favor as much as humanly possible. These are the best sort of conversations I have with my clients on a regular basis. When we can answer these questions, we can see the gaps that need to be filled. When we get clear and intentional about leveraging all three areas in our favor, we can stop falling for the just work harder reflex. Maybe it wasn't willpower that failed when you weren't able to meet your goal of getting to bed at 10 o'clock each night this week. Maybe there's a social motivation to stay up late because your husband or wife loves to binge Netflix on weeknights. Don't stop there. Notice what's influencing you and then do something to make things easier on yourself. Have a conversation. Enlist the support of friends and family. What could you ask them to do differently that would make this healthy change easier for you? Don't be afraid to ask. What about environmental support? Your home, your car, your fridge, your bedroom, your neighborhood. All of these physical things make up your environment. Are they motivating you? Are they allowing you to follow through? Notice the friction in your environment and make adjustments where you can. Get the junk food out of the house. Tidy up before you go to bed so you wake up to a clean space and have no excuses to get out the door, to go to the gym. Ignoring your environment sets you up for failure. Adjusting your environment to motivate you and allow you to make healthier choices helps you succeed. Do you see where you set yourself up for failure? What can you do to set yourself up for success? You can start working smarter, not harder. From now on, anytime you slip up, you won't throw in the towel. You'll just go back to the drawing board. Every perceived failure has something to teach you if you're willing to listen. Permission to choose your own adventure. Now that you have the tools you need to make sustainable changes based on habits, you are ready to put it all into practice. This is where you get to step into the new belief that there is no one-size-fits-all. You get to chart your course with the things you've learned in this chapter and the things you'll explore in the next. Your starting point is unique to you. Reflecting on your wellness wheel from chapter 5, start where you are, not where you should be. The word should has no place in your health journey. This is your story. You get to choose your adventure and write your narrative. Whatever your level of self-efficacy is, it's okay to take this at whatever pace you need to feel confident. It's okay to take this one step at a time. Work with what you've got, and that will be perfect for you. As you take steps to change habits, be mindful of your edge. You'll know it when you see it. No more pushing yourself into anxiety and panic. Stay in your flow and keep moving forward. A few more thoughts for you. Don't leave your values behind. See chapter 3. And don't smother your personality in the name of progress. Focusing on what matters most to you and leaning into how you naturally like to move through life will serve you well. Trust yourself to know what brings you joy and find ways to include that in your journey. If you don't already know your personality type, I highly suggest taking some time to get clarity there. I've worked with clients of all different temperaments, and it is always more effective to coach them according to what makes them tick, rather than use a blanket approach. My lighthearted social butterfly clients are going to approach goals differently than my analytically minded clients, right? Of course. The first will need it to be fun. The other will need it to feel purposeful. If you want more clarity on how you move through life, I've put together a few of my favorite personality inventories on this PDF inside the toolkit. If you haven't yet, you can still access this and all the other bonus resources at danielledinkleman.com/toolkit. This journey is yours. Let's make it feel that way. If at any time along the way you feel like you're forcing it, it's time to check in. Remember my client who was trying healthy habits for the second time? When she feels like she's pushing herself too far, she tells me, "I'm on the edge." It happens regularly. I tell her it's great that she is recognizing that feeling. We talk through what she needs to get back into flow, and for her, slight adjustments have made all the difference. If she starts feeling stressed because she doesn't have enough variety in the healthy foods she's eating, she makes a plan to find new recipes. If she's not feeling supported by a family member and their behavior is hijacking her best efforts, she commits to have a conversation with them to enlist more of their help. It's these small adjustments and consistent self-awareness that are helping her take steady strides forward. No more yo-yo dieting. No more yo-yo. No more roller coaster. No more all or nothing. Just steady, mindful progress. This is what I hope for you as well. As you continue reading, you'll see that the next 5 chapters are dedicated to each of the 5 keys to healthy living. Each chapter will help you tap into the what, the how, and why of improving sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and mindset. As you read these, know that you get to choose your own adventure. Refer to your wellness wheel when you feel ready to dig into setting goals, making plans, and experimenting with strategies for the areas most relevant to you. Make sure you go over to the toolkit to get your habit change journal and your personality profile inventories from this chapter. Chapter 6, Journal Prompts. Look at the 2 or 3 areas of focus you chose from the last chapter. What stage of change are you in for each? What can you do to help yourself move to the next stage? What unhealthy habits are running in your life right now? What healthy habits would you like to see in the future? Download your habit change journal to create traction on creating habits. When it comes to change, what feels doable right now? What will you feel ready for after that? And after that? Choose one of your areas of focus. What conversations do you need to have to enlist support? What will you change in your physical surroundings to be supportive? Download the 6-source change plan worksheet to make sure you cover all the bases for each goal and set yourself up for success. How will your health journey be unique to you, your values, your personality, your starting point, your pace?